My girlfriend and I were together for 5 years, living together the whole time. She needed somewhere to go when we met. So she moved in as my roommate for a few days. But then we slept together and our relationship began. We both enjoyed going for walks, having friends over for board games, and volunteering at a local stable that offered therapeutic riding. A lot of our time was spent there, working together at least once a week. We took our Basset Hound on our memorized hiking trail through the valley and over the mountains. Over the years, we formed a close bond and enjoyed living with each other. I was thankful that starting a romance with my roommate didn't come back to haunt me, but I wasn't considering the possibility of change. At the time, I felt like we could always stay like this. She started to get restless, though. It seemed like her head was in the clouds because she started talking about getting a van and traveling across the country. We didn't have the money to do that without dipping into our hard-earned savings, and without staying to work, we'd fall behind on our bills. When I told her this, she suggested we sublet our apartment. She wouldn't let go of the idea. Even though I didn't like it, I didn't trust a stranger to stay in her home. Keep it nice. Pay us and leave whenever we got back. It just felt like something was going to go wrong. Unbeknownst to me, my girlfriend was arranged to meet a potential subletter. She met him without me for God knows how long while I was at work. They met alone in the apartment. When she told me this, I was furious. I told her she was lucky he didn't try anything while I wasn't there. How stupid do you have to be to meet a stranger in your home without your spouse there? She swore nothing weird or bad happened, and he seemed like a responsible, honest renter. He even worked in the same building as her. I couldn't believe this, but I decided to go along with my girlfriend. She wanted us to buy a van and go on a trip so bad. It was like her life depended on it. So I got off work early one day and bought a van for us. I got her flowers and a card that basically said she could tell the subletter to move in, and I'd love nothing more than to travel with her. As I drove through the parking lot, I saw her leaving the rental office with a man I assumed to be the subletter. They were smiling ear to ear and then kissed passionately. I had to jerk the wheel to avoid clipping a parked car. This was supposed to be our subletter, and it just caught my girlfriend kissing him. I hadn't even told her I was ready to do this. She just went ahead and did it anyway. I was furious and shaking when I got out of the van holding the flowers and card carelessly. My girlfriend noticed me and her face went from pleased and happy to scared. She rushed over to me asking if this was our new van. One look at AP and I instantly got the feeling that he thought too highly of himself, had a lot of money, and didn't care that he was kissing my woman and intruding on my life. I told her it was my new van because I just saw her kissing our subletter. AP gave us space while she tried to downplay what I just saw. I told her there was no excuse for it and threw the flowers and card at her. She picked it up, started reading it, and then sobbing. It was like the card van and me standing in front of her snapped her out of whatever delusion she was feeding herself. She said she didn't know what came over her. She just wanted to travel with me and make the subletter official. I mocked her for sounding like an idiot. That's all she wanted yet. She met him alone in our apartment twice and I caught them kissing. In so many words, I dumped her. We fought back and forth while AP sat in his car. But I don't remember what we said. I just remember how betrayed I felt. My girlfriend got smart with me when she realized I wouldn't forgive her for this. She said she didn't have to leave because her name was on the lease, but that she would give me some space to get over what just happened. I watched her get into a PS car and leave. I went inside the apartment in some kind of zombie-like trance and felt like it belonged to someone else. I didn't want to be here anymore, and I couldn't stay with my girlfriend after how she just defended herself for seeing another man. I looked at the van I just bought and decided what I was going to do. I packed all my stuff, everything, and fit it into the van. I divided it into my essentials, stuff to sell and stuff to keep. I put my apartment key under the mat, carried my Basset Hound to the van and left. 2 weeks later, I remembered my ex saying that AP worked in the same building as her. It wasn't hard to find the information I needed and send an email to my ex-boss. She replied less than a week later, thanking me for bringing this violation of company policy to her attention. AP and my ex were fired for dating in the workplace. She tries calling me and texting me pitiful cheater words. But I know she was just one of the many people I'm destined to meet. She wasn't even mad at me for getting her fired. She just wanted me to come home as much as her betrayal hurt. She was the one that encouraged me to bind the van and travel. I hope anybody reading my story doesn't let anyone or anything hold you back from being happy or content with life. Seems like your girlfriend started this whole thing because she was restless and obviously going through something. But she never tried to talk to you about the root of her problems. Maybe you both could have the opportunity to repair the relationship if she would have had a little self-control, respect and patience until you guys got out on the road. As devastating as this was, she proved that she could not control herself or be the woman. You needed her to be talking things out could have been the way to save this relationship. But it takes two mature people to do that. Starting a secret relationship, to fix whatever you're feeling, is not the way to resolve issues. The best thing anyone can do is talk to their spouse. Honestly, the person they should count on more than anyone else. I wish you all the best and hope you can recover from this. Now, let's get into our second story for today. My wife, 35 female and I 38 male, were married for 3 years. Our marriage was greatly influenced by our parents. Her parents were desperate for grandchildren, so seeing as she was their only child and she never had a long-term boyfriend, they took matters into their own hands. They knew my parents from church and my parents were also growing impatient with me. I hadn't had a girlfriend for longer than a year and I never considered having children with anyone. My parents were getting old watching the clock tick by when they were approached by my future in-laws. The 4 of them arranged a blind date for us. She was pretty heavy-set, but I wasn't one to judge based on appearances. It was pretty clear that she had self-confidence issues and didn't expect to get married. She was brutally honest on our first date and didn't bother trying to hide who she was. I admired her for that. She actually shared a lot of the same opinions and beliefs as me. I started to wonder if all either of us needed was a partner to go through life with. I asked her what she'd want to do together if we started seeing each other. She said she loved to paint. So that became our hobby together. Just a month later, our parents planned our wedding. Our relationship wasn't bad, but I hardly knew her. So I guess I should have stopped it. I just wanted to make everyone else happy. I made it my personal goal to build my wife's confidence and better our lives together. I wasn't in shape either. So I thought it would be great for us to start active hobbies together. We bought bikes, but she only went on a couple rides with me before making excuses. Every time she said her knees hurt, we started walking around our neighborhood, but she got sunburn once. So she stopped going out on sunny days. 3 years later, we were still together. I could tell that we both changed in some good ways. But I admit I could only handle a few hours at a time with her before I started to feel weird. She made me feel like what I said was a waste of time and whatever I suggested we do together was lame. When she told me she was joining the yoga class, I was skeptical. She said it was the perfect way for her to get in shape. I asked if I could do it with her and she hesitated before saying no. She wanted this to be her time to think and work on herself. I arranged for a friend of mine to wait in our neighborhood for my wife to leave so he could follow her. He called me when they got to a cafe. My wife was meeting a man over coffee from what he could tell. It seemed like this was their first date. I was nauseous. What I worried about for so long was becoming reality. This whole marriage was a terrible idea. I decided not to confront her that night. My friend sent me a picture of them sitting at a table. I just plugged in my phone and went to sleep. 4 days later, I told my wife I was going to work at the same time as her yoga class. but I just parked my car down the street to get into my friend's car. We followed her at a distance until she got to the bowling alley. She greeted AP with a kiss on the lips. I was shocked to see her this way. She was wearing a fur dress and I could tell she had gained confidence since we first met, probably because of my emotional support and love. Yet here she was using her newfound confidence to kiss and date another man. My friend and I jumped out of the car to confront them. She stopped kissing him and turned her head to see me. She started hyperventilating and got defensive as she accused me of following her. I think she was just extremely remorseful and embarrassed. I think our marriage meant more to her than she cared to admit because it would have made the moment unbearably painful. I just told her she was cheating on me. So we were over. It sounded weird because I couldn't think straight. She just went inside with AP and got in line to get bowling shoes. She was trying to make it seem like nothing happened. That's when I got angry. I trusted her and accepted her as my wife. Even though I was scared I'd get my heart broken, and now she was pretending she didn't do anything wrong. My friend and I started a game in the bowling lane beside theirs. I made it extremely awkward for them by staring as they bowled like idiots. I couldn't decide what to do. So I just did the first thing that came to mind. I ordered nachos and threw them on my ex's head. She screamed and whined, and boulders around us were very amused. AP told my nacho-covered ex that he was going to see other people and left. It was extremely satisfying to follow my friend out of there without regard to my ex getting the cheese out of her hair. I filed for divorce and it was a nightmare for our parents. I felt worse for them than myself, but I was glad we didn't have kids together. She tried calling me and even talking to me in person, even though she said extremely intimate and honest things like giving me credit for her maturity and growth. It didn't matter to me. She still had growing up to do because she cheated on me. I did what I could for her, but I wanted the opportunity to meet someone else. It's been years since this happened, and I'm happy to say that I were married and had children with my new wife. My parents are happy grandparents and I have a wife I can be proud of. The only reason she started seeing and kissing another man is because she was selfish. She didn't consider how you would feel or the fact that you were her husband. You were the one that encouraged her and helped to build her self-confidence. As soon as she grew bored with the relationship, she sought out someone to cheat on you with instead of talking to you about how she felt. I'm glad to hear that you've had children with your new wife and made your parents happy. Their intentions were pure, but the woman they encouraged you to marry didn't take you or herself seriously. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening, please feel free to like and subscribe. If you haven't already. Also comment below with your thoughts on what happened. If there is a story you would like to share with me about your own situation or someone else's, then please do